Yo, when I spit bars in a raid, man, I go hard like Santan.
Hello there. Welcome to another New Spurs Order podcast. I'll be a host again tonight, X-Pac, and I'll be joined by two guys who are going 2 for 2. We got the two guys who are on from last week. Jack, Blacklisted Jack Sting. How you doing, man?
Yeah, good to be on consecutively. It's been a while actually, but yeah, no, I'm optimistic and actually, for once, looking forward to seeing Spurs play.
Yeah, I like how you addressed the last pod. I think you kind of introduced it as like, we're going to have a nice positive pod. And hearing you say that, I was like, oh my God, you've changed our friend completely. Might start to think
that can swing anytime, at any point. So we'll just see. But
we
make the most
will
of it.
get into that. And Booker T / Tops, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. Always good. Happy to be back on. And looking forward to Ange Ball. Sick of this stupid international break and how much PR Harry Maguire's got. But yeah, at least the Premier League's back tomorrow.
Fair enough. You've alluded to what the first subject was going to be in the running order, Top. So I'll come to you first, as you are kind of currently watching the man who we're about to speak about. Kane, in the international break, former player of us, had some things to say. He was directly asked a question by a journalist about Spurs, and he kind of had a few things to say in the sense of, it's not a disaster. It's a good challenge being at Bayern now because they're expected to win every game. It's a disaster if we don't, and it wasn't a disaster if we lost 2 games in a row at Spurs. But did you feel a way about those comments at all?
Personally, I didn't initially feel a way, but then, when I read the whole piece, I kind of did. Just because, as a Spurs fan my whole life, I've not seen us do much in terms of success. And people can arguably say that since Levy came on, although we haven't won, trophies, it depends how you look at, or how you rate success. We've kind of had a bit of an upward trajectory, a nice period under Poch, and obviously the club is in a bigger and a better place. But I do kind of feel that it's important to say that, these kind of comments, I don't know, I just felt that I felt a little way about them because I felt like he wasn't really taking much ownership, as supposed to be one person who was part of the main leadership group, which they spoke about last season, and someone who's been predominantly here throughout his whole career, but again through a lot of the period of Levy's time where we had some sort of relative success. So I just felt that he was almost passing the buck and not really taking much responsibility, because at the end of the day, players are essentially what create the culture at the club, and someone who has been there, especially in a lot of the moments that we didn't perform well, semi-finals, finals, and some of the big games, not all of them, but some of the big games that really mattered, that could have actually changed our history. He was local in all of these. So I kind of felt a little bit of a way, especially him leaving the club in the manner he did, last minute, and then him coming out and saying this stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people are kind of ignoring and going both ways on this, in the sense of okay, Kane should probably show a bit more accountability, given that he did play in a lot of these big games, but the record in semi-finals and finals does leave a lot to be desired. And then there was obviously big points made about the precedent has to be set from the top, and do we have that mentality to want to be pushing on to be an elite club, to be winning trophies, and just being at the top, challenging year on year. And to be honest, I was just looking at it and thinking, okay, it's okay for both things to be true, and I think both of them are true. I do think it kind of leans a bit more towards the club setting the precedent for this kind of thing. like more often than not, it does have to come to the top. It would take something really, really special for one player as gifted as Kane is, and as gifted as some of us may not like to admit. Yeah, as gifted as he is, like it would take something monumental for one player to kind of set that tempo and set that precedent for a club to really be challenging at the top. Because you can say, even though he obviously pandered to Kane with these post Pochettino manager appointments, hired Mourinho for him, hired Conte for him, we didn't really replace some of those players that left us in the like Ericsson, Alderweireld, Vertonghen straight away. Even the whole Moussa Dembele replacement didn't quite work out because we just didn't have a proper plan for Ndombele in the end. And then he, unfortunately, sounds like he let himself down a bit. But yeah, just the whole precedent within itself is set mainly by the club for me. And now we'd be joined by Goldberg, aka Tobes. We were just touching upon the Kane comments just quickly. I was saying essentially both things can be true in the sense that, you know, Kane obviously should have done better in the semi-finals and finals, but I do think it's probably more on the club to set the precedent for a winning mentality and for it to not be a disaster if we lose 2 games in a row. But what were your thoughts on Kane's comments?
I think with Kane's comments, and I said this in the chat as well, I didn't really see the big deal in what he said. I don't think he was cussing out his own former teammates. I think he was talking about what it's like to play for Bayern in comparison to playing for Tottenham. And when he's talking about like playing in the Champions League and finals, etc., or feeling that added pressure and whatnot, I don't think he absolved himself of any responsibility in some of those moments where Spurs basically didn't get over the line. So for me, it was more a case of Kane just emphasizing the difference in pressure playing for Tottenham versus playing for Bayern, because let's be real, there is a different pressure playing for Spurs versus playing for Bayern. At Bayern Munich, you're expected to not just win the league, but win the league at a canter in style, and you're expected to win the Champions League. You're not expected to win the league at Spurs. You're not expected to win the Champions League at Spurs. It's a best endeavors sort of thing. And it's not to say that Spurs is a jolly up, right? We've gone through so many different managers, which proves that it's not a jolly up, but the difference in expectations are there. And I think that's what he was just emphasizing in his interview.
Yeah, I think it's quite hard for Spurs fans who have kind of criticised these comments online to comprehend how much pressure there is from just German media in general. Obviously, we're not immersed in that, so it's hard to get a gauge on it. But like you said, they are expected to win the league. With a squad like this, they're expected to get to minimum semi-final of the Champions League. Otherwise, it would be a disaster. Like, there's no way, even in our kind of peak Pochettino times, that, you know, we would have expected to do that. We wouldn't have even been expected to do that the season after the final.
Yeah.
So that's just something that Kane just emphasized, and he wasn't lying. He may have been able to articulate it a little bit better, but I mean that's definitely not his strength anyway, and I'm sure Sai will probably agree with that.
It's not at all. It's
with
not
his
at all.
impression.
That's why I would want like people to just read between the lines. I do think though, my last point on this, and someone raised it to me yesterday, like can't really argue with what he's saying, right? Even though some people will, but at the same time, as someone who was and still is like held in such high regard at the club, like he should find better ways of speaking about the club. I get it. Like he's telling the truth, but be softer, right? You'll struggle to find comments of Gareth Bale. Like if they were to ask Gareth Bale about pressure at Real Madrid and stuff, you'll struggle to find comments of Gareth Bale putting down. I'm doing it in quotation marks. He didn't mean to do it, but putting down Tottenham, like it just wouldn't happen. Do you get what I'm saying? It wouldn't happen with big players that we've had in the past. So I think I can understand from that perspective from Spurs fans that like we shouldn't constantly be the reference point, even though we are going to be the reference point because he used to play for us. But I get it.
That's fair. That's fair. Did anyone else have anything to add to that one?
All I'll say is what he said was correct. Is he the right person to say it? I mean, a lot of players could leave the club and say the same thing. If an Eric Lamela came, won the Europa League, which he did, would he? And if he said something like that, would he be wrong? No. Even though he was also part of the fading regime, I just think that what he said is right. It's not that deep. We move.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not that deep at all. Moving on to just other happenings in the international break, I feel like pretty much most of the talk after that whole Kane comments just ended up being around our replacement number 9. So I was just laughing at Simon's comment in the chat. I think when he's been bad, I was gonna call him Simon because he's saying some unsavory things about Kane. Richarlison struggled, missed an easy chance against Bolivia and looked to have been a bit upset on the bench after he came off. And then was it Peru? He scored an offside goal against, celebrated, obviously as you would because it's a goal. And then essentially had it chalked off and didn't score again. So now I think people are getting onto him more, and now he's come out and said, like, okay, I've been struggling mentally. There's been things kind of going on in the background in the sense, like, there's been people who I've had to cut out of my life because of they've been after me for my money, and then I've cut them out of my life, and I'm just kind of getting through that. And that, for me, was just like that explains it. That was a kind of light bulb moment. Like, my stance on Richarlison hasn't changed currently. I still think Son should be our first choice, number 9, and Richarlison should have a few games, maybe just the one game out from starting at least. But Tops, what were your kind of thoughts on the whole Richarlison situation?
Yeah, I mean, generally, I think it does open up a bigger conversation about what players are dealing with. I think on one hand, it's very easy to just see what we see on the TV or in the stands and just assume that players have to just go out there and do their jobs. But then you have to kind of remember, just like we did when we spoke about Dele Alli, that players are humans and they have human things to deal with as well, which is fair enough. I think even more specifically with regards to Richarlison, I think I read somewhere that it looked to be, I think, an agent or someone who was very close to him who had maybe their relationship had broken down, and that's clearly something that's been affecting him emotionally, mentally, and as a result, his form, his confidence seems to have taken a real dive. Still hasn't scored this season, and it's been a bit of a frustrating one for him. I mean, I totally understand it, and actually, I think it's very good and it's very open to him to open up the way he has about this. But then, on the other hand, as well, I can't not say that it's not that I didn't see it, but like I watched Richarlison when he was at Everton. I saw a little bit of him when he was at Watford, and I've always just had this feeling that, like, to be a striker, especially at the top level, you have to have some, I won't say like metal, but there's something that you can see in some of these top strikers where, like, they're super unwavering in the moments that are key. They can really make these high sort of valued decisions, choices, especially when they're in front of goal. And I've always kind of been a little bit unsure as to whether he's had that. Like that game against Bournemouth really kind of told me a lot, just because I know he was probably dealing with something mentally, but it's just, I just need a striker to be able to do what essentially he's paid to do. And I've never really been super convinced of him as a 9. And to be honest with you, him playing out position under Conte and his minor run under Postecoglou hasn't really given me like much confidence. But then, maybe it is right. Maybe, him coming out and saying that he probably needs to speak to someone psychologically that would help him from a mental perspective will probably help. I'm sure it will help. And maybe he can come back with a different mindset. I do feel kind of sorry for him because he's really struggling. He's really struggling. I mean, I don't know what he's struggling with personally off the pitch, but on the pitch, he's really struggling. And I hope he somehow fights these demons to get back to some level for us because we need him.
We do. I genuinely still think he can be useful for us. I feel like I might be one of the only ones batting for him to be at least useful at this point. Okay, maybe Tobes is as well. Fair enough. Jack, you wouldn't agree with that, no?
Jack,
I'm gonna
he said shake.
I'm gonna be sensitive because obviously there are issues that Pigeon has that we aren't aware of, that none of us have any idea. I don't even know what's funny. This is a very sensitive matter. Yeah, all of those things we don't have a clue about. So we're all, can't speculate. And we've got to have this duty of care, got to take care of him, make sure he's fine, make sure he's all good, make sure he's, in line and in check mentally, physically, all that, as your employee, you've got to look after your employees at the end of the day. I do feel that on the pitch probably may have, I don't know if it's a chicken or egg situation. Which way is it? Is it anything personally that's affecting him on the pitch, or is his personal matters affecting him mentally, or a bit of both? Who knows? But what I will say is take some time off. It could be 6 weeks, it could be a whole season. Who knows? Just let him have a break. Let him rest, and we've got we can rotate other forwards at least at some point. Hopefully, I don't know.
I also think as well, quietly, Velis maybe coming into the fold is kind of timely, maybe. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how we move forward with this, whether he decides to take the time off immediately or he actually does something, or whether he continues to just plow through and continue playing.
Yeah, it's unclear that whether he'd have to take time out of actual match day squads or anything like that. I certainly think he'll have to touch bench for a few games and kind of feel out the team from there. But yeah, I really respect how brave he's been about speaking out just about his issues, and that bravery within itself. And I think him being brave and open about this issue will be a weight off his shoulders within itself, and hopefully he can go on to still make a difference in the side. But yeah, I would just want to move on to obviously the Ange comments, because they go hand of hand. He's been speaking to TalkSport as well, and just pushing his own Ange train forward. Everyone's all aboard the Ange train now. Even the ops are all aboard the Ange train. I was listening to the main podcast, and see Toast was on it over the weekend, and you're kind of saying that okay, Spurs actually look good. Ange looks good. What did you kind of make of his comments, Tobes, through TalkSport, talking about team accountability and obviously just how he dealt with the whole Richarlison situation in general?
The same thoughts that I've had since he's stepped foot through the door, to be honest, that I'm just more and more impressed with how he's been able to handle himself in front of the press. And I think with Ange Postecoglou, what is really, really refreshing, which I think he does better than any manager we've had in years, even better than Pochettino, is he doesn't really mince his words. He's quite clear what he's trying to say. And I feel like the managers of the past that we've had, Poch at times, he could, I love Poch, but sometimes his press conference were a bit like, what does that even mean? Jose was just the Jose show. Conte was just, oh, I hate the club. Get me some players. And Nuno was just Nuno, right? So I feel like with Ange Postecoglou, I think he's just clear, man. You can see that he wants to win and he wants to make it work with what he's been given. Like, he's not shying away from the task at hand. He wants to make Spurs a success with what he's been given. He even said as much in the Talksport interview. If it fails, it's on me. And I feel like whilst that is Levy's perfect dream, right, to absolve him of any blame, I also think it's brave on a manager that's putting it all on his shoulders to try and take on the task at hand. Whereas managers of the past would be saying, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. So I think he really carries himself well. And I feel like the way he's coaching our team so far, I don't really have a bad word to say about him. But one thing I did say on the main pod, and I will continue saying, is it's good now. Like, things are going well right now for Spurs. Ange Postecoglou is unbeaten. There's not really been many injuries. New signings have settled in well. Like, so all the things that could be good for Spurs outside of Kane, all the things that could be good for Spurs with the circumstances at hand have gone in his favor. But I want to see how Ange deals with adversity. I want to see how Ange deals with one game where we lose and we deserve to win, or 2 or 3 games where we haven't got a result, or when we're in a rough patch, because those games are going to come. Like, it's just football, the nature of football. You have your highs, you have your lows. I want to see how he is when we get our lows. And I think everything he's saying so far tells me that this is a manager who's not really going to hide when those low points of the season and future seasons come. So far, so good.
Yeah, we just need to get blamed, as I guess people were saying.
Yeah, I think this point from Sai is perfect as well, right? I think this point from, sorry to interrupt, I think this point from Sai is perfect. He's getting a lot more grace from the media, right? Same vibe as Redknapp. Antonio Conte didn't really get that case. That Antonio Conte was more a case of he's too good for Tottenham. He's too good for Tottenham. I think Ange Postecoglou, because of what he's had to deal with, Kane leaving and the good start he's had and the football we're playing in comparison to previous seasons, all of a sudden there's a lot of hype around Ange Postecoglou now, right? I think we know the English media. 1 minute you're a hero, the next minute you're a zero. The same people that are painting you up as this messiah are the same people that are going to be tarnishing you when you have your bit of your rough time. So I think we just need to stay grounded. Can't let ourselves get consumed by everything that everyone's saying about Ange Postecoglou, but at the same time, be optimistic that we have a manager that's actually going to take accountability for his performance and the club's performance.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we've had the accountability, and there could be quite a few things that even come out of the fan forum meeting. I just wanted to come to you again, Toes, because you've been to one. Do you think there's anything that can come out of that? Like, how do you think it will go?
I think it will be better this year than last year, because obviously I guess there'll be certain topics I imagine that Levy will be like, oh, don't shed too much light on, the usual spiel. But I think because of Ange Postecoglou's personality and demeanor, I feel like it will be a much more enlightening conversation, a much more enlightening conversation than the one with Pochettino, Levy, and I can't remember which player it was that was there with them last time round. I didn't really enjoy that one because I just felt like I didn't really get a resolution to any of the questions that were being asked, right? So I feel like this one, because Ange doesn't really mince his words, I would hope that would lead to a much more productive conversation. But that's as far as the team is concerned. I imagine that Daniel Levy will still be his old usual self when they talk about ticket prices and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like, if I was there, I'd love to just kind of get an insight of what their kind of plan forward is for the kind of behind the scenes football operation, because there's been so much that has happened. Like, Steinson's left, Paratici ended up being a crook, and then the whole delay of Scott Munn being hired is it led to quite a reactive window for me. So I just wanted to see what the plan forward was with that, and then who knows if someone even asked those questions or not. Jack, was there anything, I guess, from kind of that fan forum which you would kind of look to see addressed?
Obviously, I think we are obviously what the fans are being charged itself. I think needs. I don't know whether that already has or has been looked at or anything like that, but definitely, definitely, what's going on in the scenes, the actual sort of hierarchical structure of the club, how it's setting out to do things in terms of progressing the club. Definitely, a bit more transparency on that would be a bit nice, and just the sort of, I don't know the word for it, but the actual idea in terms of transfers and the actual strategy we've got going forward in terms of youth, in terms of players in their sort of early mid-20s. I just want an idea of what we're going for, profiles. I know obviously signing Postecoglou as manager is a big indicator of that, but definitely just more transparency as a whole in the footballing side of things for me.
And yourself,
and
Tops?
contracts terminated, right?
And
Say it then, Jack. You want contracts
What was
terminated? I said contracts terminated.
Yeah, Hugo Lloris making the squad.
Yeah,
Eric Dyer,
a certain, he should be. Like I said last week, Eric Dyer should be given a seat in the stands with his brother. Like that's it. That's where he should be. He should have climbed up those stairs and stayed there forever and never come back down. That is where Eric Dyer should have really been. But hey,
he's got to find him first. But I was just thinking that's what Yao would have said if he was here. But no, sorry, Tops. What were you thinking about this whole kind of fan forum thing in general?
No, for me, I mean, it's pretty much echoing what we've all said already, especially what Tobe said. I still feel the way that they've dealt with the ticket prices is pretty disgusting. I think for me, I'm more heavy on just where the club's moving forward in terms from a football point of view, making sure that we're making all the right decisions to kind of be in and around the upper parts of the league, where we want to be regularly competing for trophies, regularly competing in the league, and also as well massively using all the money that we spent and efforts that we spent on the academy to actually provide some level of first team pathway to some of these youth players. You know, we're seeing a lot of these guys being moved on or not even being given squad numbers and having their careers stalled. And it would actually be positive to actually see some level of like pathway where they can actually develop before they're moved on or they're promoted into the first team.
Yeah, that's fair. It's going to be more important now more than ever. Now we're actually signing youth at the same time as improving the first team. Like obviously we made signings like Valise, and then you got Udogi and Saad just before that, who have come into the first team now. You've just had the signing of Vuskovic, which we will look to touch upon in another pod. But again, he's in his late 16-year-old stage of the signing. We've apparently pipped Man City and PSG too, and he'll join in 2025 when he's 18. And it's just having a pathway, like you say, for those type of players as well. Fully agree. So we've got a nice hard run of fixtures we've got to get into, starting with a game I guess we should be winning, a team we should be beating, maybe. Toes may or may or not agree with that. It's given his newfound beef with Sheffield United fans.
I want us to wipe the floor with that fucking Steel City club. I want us to wipe the floor with them. I swear to God.
Yeah, how many bookmarked tweets have you got again?
What's that?
How many bookmarked tweets have you got again?
I've got like 13, bro. I've got like 13. I don't even know these duns. I've got guys who are living in, I don't know what area, what parts of Sheffield are there. I don't know, right? I've got guys that were tweeting me all sorts of nonsense who didn't know me from Adam, and they want to talk. So, right now, if we smoke them on Saturday, I'm going to talk. and I'm gonna have a lot to say because oh oh god, like listen, you don't even understand, yeah. I forgive, I don't forget, right? I forgive, I do not forget, right? That brother that wanted to come on the show, I've forgiven him. He can come on when we play at Bramall Lane, right? But I'm not gonna forget what he said. So I want us to show no mercy whatsoever. I want us to absolutely pummel the living daylights out of this club. I remember the last time they came to our ground, we hit them for what, like 4 goals? Gareth Bale scored a brace. Was it 4 or 5? I want the same sort of violence. I want us to absolutely bury them, send them right back to the championship where they belong. Because that ain't no Premier League club right now. I'll tell you that. Man for man, and I don't care. I'll have it out with any Sheffield United fan. That is not a Premier League caliber football club right now. And they will tell you that. It's not. So I want us to go out there on Saturday and embarrass them. I need that. I absolutely need that. 1-0 is not enough for me. 2-0 is not enough for me. I need a 3-goal margin just to rub it in their faces. And if we get that, and I think we will, if we get that, I'm coming to get it back in blood. I swear to God. You don't even understand.
I think the team needs to get it back in blood because that FA Cup, like we got dumped at the FA Cup by them, even though they were an even worse side than they are now. Like they used most of their backup team to dump us out, which was obviously more than embarrassing for us. So yeah, 3-goal margin minimum. Tops, what are your thoughts kind of going into this Sheffield United game? Would you see any changes, I guess, from the Burnley game at all, do you think?
No, like I absolutely echo Tobe's sentiment. I watched the game against Everton and I've seen, their first 4 games. They're a poor side. I'll be so real. They're a poor side. Both of them looked really poor, Everton and Sheffield United. And if it wasn't for Pickford, Sheffield United they might have actually come away with a win that day. But I just think it's just a matter of making sure we take care of business. That FA Cup game, Richie Ladd him and Lucas showed exactly who they were on that day. So I kind of feel this is going to be a completely different affair. The last time we played them in the league, we had a really good away win where Ndombele scored that sort of wonder goal. And then, like Tobe said, we had a 4-0 win during the COVID season where Bale scored a pretty good hat-trick. So I don't expect anything less than a comfortable victory. Just looking into their squad, looking into their results. Interestingly, over the last week or the international break, they've lost like 2 or 3 of their main guys. And actually the one guy who normally would start, I can't remember his name, is a Bosnian guy. He actually was suffering with an injury before, and normally Bosnia asked him to come up and play. He decided not to play. So actually they're really struggling from a defensive point of view this weekend. When I was listening to Heckingbottom's conference presser this afternoon, they looks like they're just going to try and give it a go. They seem to feel like they were pummeled when they came to Spurs last time. So I pretty much want much of the same. I don't want anything less.
Same.
Fair enough.
I think with Sheffield United, so I did watch them against Everton, and yeah, I felt like if Everton, don't get twisted, Sheffield United had their chances, but I felt like if Everton had better final third play from Danjuma and Beto, they could have really done some damage to Sheffield United, right? And that's Everton. So I don't think it's unfair to say that Spurs, if they play to the level that they've played to so far this season, there really should be a comfortable day here for Tottenham. Obviously, no game is given to you. Spurs still have to go out there and play to the level that they have played to for most of the season so far, but play to that level and win so I can rub it in people's faces, right? The cheek to say that a Spurs fan is what were they saying? They were saying stuff like, oh, I'm a glory hunter or something like that, or I'm snobbery for saying that a B team championship side should not be beating a Premier League side in an FA Cup tie. Mad. Anyway, it is
yeah, West Ham fans agreeing and everything. Like it was
crazy, bro. It's crazy.
It was absolutely mad.
Of course.
What I'll say is we cannot let guys like Ollie McBurney score, because if that happens, yeah, we'll have serious concerns at the back because, yeah, we need to keep a clean sheet. I think we need to stay solid, limit chances to a minimum. I don't even think Sheffield United should have even any kind of chance at all. To be honest, we shouldn't allow that to happen in any way, shape, or form. They got players like Chris Basham. I remember this guy playing for Bolton when they were last in the Premier League. Like, yeah, they are not. They don't belong in this league. I saw that game again as well against Everton. It was two poor sides, poor cohesion, absolutely no ball retention in any part of the field whatsoever. Players of just such low quality. The football itself in play, it was a good game, but it was down to just awful mistakes. Chances, even the chances that Sheffield United had for Everton at the back were awful as well. It's just we should not even give these guys a sniff. And yeah, I agree with Tobes. 3-4-0 minimum is what we should be giving them, but you just never know. You never know what could happen after international break. How you
Exactly.
can
No
start
pressure.
a game.
No pressure. I mean, to be fair, Human Son, he didn't have to travel for his international games. Played both of his games. I think it was Wales and England. Stayed within the UK anyway. Romero looks like he escaped injury. So it kind of goes without saying, like, no pressure going into this game. We're going into this game with the manager of the month and the player of the month as well in Postecoglou and Madison. And obviously we're expecting a big win against Sheffield United. But I'm going to come to you as well, Jack, because we kind of got an interesting fixture kind of list coming up. Like, obviously after Sheffield United, we then have Arsenal away. Then Liverpool at home and then Luton away. How do you kind of see it kind of planning out for those games? And you might be on mute.
Yeah.
Sorry. That Arsenal game, I'm going to put that automatically as an L. I think that's just become a default recently. So I'm just going to put that as a loss. But the rest
That
of the
doesn't
games,
sound
Sheffield.
very
Glory huntery. Yeah, I mean, should be winning the Champions League this season, But yeah, Sheffield United, Liverpool, Luton. I think Liverpool, we have to get 3 points, man. I'm sick and tired of playing these guys and getting nothing out of it every single damn time. And that one win we had against them back, what was it, 2017, the 4-1. And that was a long time. That was the first win in a long time as well. It's getting on my nerves now. Just get it done, beat these guys, and just break this bloody hoodoo because it's pissing me off. It's legit pissing me off.
I would genuinely have like, I think I would have enough jam to fill a factory with the amount of jammy goals I've seen Liverpool score against Spurs in the last 5 or 6 years. It's ridiculous. Alderweireld putting the ball into his own net in the 93rd minute of the game. Eric Dyer just literally passing the ball to Mo Salah twice.
Heading it back and then passing it back.
It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Guys missing absolute sitters like Lo Celso, point blank. Son hitting the post at Anfield a couple of times. Like, there's so Bergwijn being put through on goal a gazillion times and not finding the back of the net, only for us to go lose that game to a Firmino header in the 90th minute. It is enough. It is enough. It's enough. I've had enough. Word to Saeed. I've had enough, man. I've had enough. I'm sick of it. And this season, we need to get it back in blood. Yeah, I want us to snatch the wig off of Darwin Núñez's head top. I want us to knock the stuffing out of Jurgen Klopp. I need us to beat this team. I'm sick of losing to them at home or dropping points. I'm tired of it. And I want retribution as well. Yes, I know, more retribution. I want retribution for that little pesky so-and-so, Andy Robertson. He's a little cheeky, you know what, right? I'm not going to say the word here, but you know what he is, right? I need him mudded in that fixture. Arsenal, I hear you. Arsenal is, yeah, man. We've been humbled at that fixture so many times that like it's even become like taboo to sort of go into it thinking Spurs are going to get something, because it just never really materializes like that. So yeah, that one, I feel like that would be an L.
Damn, I kind of get the feeling, an intangible feeling that Arsenal will be a better matchup for us for some reason. Like, I think we might be able to snuff them out and get a result there. Whereas Liverpool are kind of like I imagine they'll probably set up similar to how United set up against us at home. It'll be chaosful, high pressing, but they're just better at it than United right now. And yeah, unfortunately, I see it as it's. I think it might be a bad matchup for us, but I've got a bad feeling. I do think we'll get a result against Arsenal though, and obviously I'm comfortable and confident against Luton. Tops, how do you see these kind of 4 games in total?
Yeah,
panning out?
similar to Tobes. I like, as much as I want to see us get a result at Arsenal, I just don't see it. I just feel like the whole occasion of it, Arsenal generally tend to turn up for these games. We tend to go in ourselves a little bit. And the game's far too chaotic, in my opinion, for us to ever be able to have any real control. And Arsenal aren't really the team that kind of see control, especially at home anymore. So that's a game I've quietly conceded. If we get a draw, that's a good result, in my opinion. But Liverpool at home, we need to be winning this game. Like, being there last season and just us throwing the game away almost in the first half to try and chase it back in the second. No, we need to pack these men in. Simple. We need to absolutely pack them in at home. Everyone's talking about, Liverpool are back, Salah is there, Trent is playing from midfield. I need us to pack them in on a real one. I need to pack them in.
So if you would rather us get a
Liverpool are
result
looking
against
better,
one,
though.
if you had to choose, who would you rather we actually got a result against?
Personally, I think that the way that I look at Postecoglou and the way that we're building, I don't mind it in stages. Get the little ones done. Get the little milestones done. Get games like Liverpool at home, winning those games. Because remember, like, we look at it from a big perspective. Arsenal were doing that for you. Actually, even though they were having some trouble under Arteta, they were mashing the small man and they were losing the big games. And they've got better at the big games. It's not going to happen overnight, but at home, let's be winning these. Let's not even be losing these games. Let's be winning these games. So Liverpool at home, I want to see us smash. Sheffield United at home, I want to see us smash. Luton, I need to see us smash the hell out of them. And then Arsenal away,
down.
and then
Send
Arsenal away. Get a draw. Put in a performance where you don't cower into yourselves in the first half an hour and lose the match even before it started. You know, like, little things. I just think these 2 games are proper litmus tests for us this season. Like, as much as like Tobe says, it's so good to be on a high about the manager and how we've played. We've played teams that we should be beating on a real one. They're inferior opposition. United was a tight one, but we won that and we were home. That's the kind of result I need to see consistently.
I think with sorry, go on, Owen, go on.
No, I was just going to say what Top said is a good point about how you start games, and I think, yeah, we can afford to start games the way we did against the likes of Burnley, but if you start games like that against Arsenal, you might not be able to recoup the goals conceded. So I think starting the games well and not shitting your pants basically at kickoff is going to be the most important thing in those bigger games. That's what I want to say, really.
I do think as well, sorry to sort of bring it down a little bit, but we need to get Luton out of here, man. Honestly, we need to get Luton out of this league. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not having it. I know everyone's getting bare giddy and, oh, look at their ground. It's such a proper old school ground and it's got people's houses on the way in the terraces. No, get them gone. That place is an absolute dump. The ground is a dump. Luton itself is an absolute dive. Get them gone.
No
Happy for
empathy
them.
for your countryman, Barkley.
Pardon?
No empathy for your countryman, your fellow Nigerman, Barkley.
Oh, come off it, man. Come off it. That brother did he declare for our country?
You're killing me. Owen, you make me sick. Owen, you make me sick.
Did he declare for our country? He looks more like you than he looks like me, brother.
Owen makes me sick, man. Honestly,
both ginger and both nasty pieces of work. Yeah. So I'll say it again. So my words aren't to be misconstrued. Get Luton. Is it Luton Town? Get Luton the fuck out of this league. Get them gone. I don't like seeing their ground. I couldn't even name you 6 of their players. And to be honest, I don't want to know about any of them. I just want them back in the championship where they belong. Because this Premier League thing, it's not for them. It's not for them. Sorry, I don't want to be seeing people making their dinners and shit when I'm en route to the inside their ground. Like, what the hell is that about?
It's not for them, man. It's not for them.
Who's the worst shooter for Spurs? Who's the worst ball striker for Tottenham?
Richie, lad.
Richarlison.
Richie. So can you imagine Richarlison booting the ball into someone's living room? What the hell is that about? What the hell is that about? Nah, man. Genuinely get them gone, man. I've never really fallen in love with this whole the Premier League dream. Some teams you just don't want to see them in the Prem. Like, I don't want to see Luton, don't want to see Millwall, don't want to see Ipswich. There's just certain teams I don't want to see you in the Prem, respectfully. And Luton, you're one of them. Beat them. Spurs, I need us to beat them, and I need us to beat them well.
I feel for the away fans because I know the serotonin levels drastically plummet as soon as you enter the Bedfordshire borders. I've got family in Luton, and I tell you right now, the mood as soon as you pass Hemel Hempstead, it just you on an absolute downer.
Mate,
it is the worst place on earth. Forget the country. It is an absolute cesspit. It is horrible. It is literally Luton is the place that's bred the EDL. It's also the place that has had other terrorist links. It is the worst place to be in. It just breathes.
I've got stories about Luton. One of my they're not podcast friendly, but all I'm gonna say is this. Yeah, one of my mates was chatting to girls off Instagram. He invited them down for like a party and stuff. They said they were from Luton. They came down. Let's just say they did not look like what they were advertising on their Instagrams. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah, let's move on.
Very unhinged. Very unhinged. Well, that could be one to sign off on. That was a beautiful beautiful review of Luton. Thank you, Jack. You're gonna have people on your DMs and your Twitter like Tobes did with Sheffield United fans. Maybe that'll be a sight to behold.
Bring them on. I'll tell them to their face. Your team's shit and Luton's a dive. Like they'll probably agree with me.
Yeah, I've got plenty of family there. I'm probably gonna get some WhatsApp messages. So yeah, it is what it is.
Bro, like what am I meant to say?
Sai saying that Tobes' left foot would definitely smash windows in Luton.
Listen,
is that true? I haven't actually seen Tobes play football.
You know what? I've been sitting on what's that chick's name? Lani Good or whatever her name is. When she's like, I'm sitting on a bad boy piece of information. I'm sitting on a bad boy piece of content with Sai implicated. Yeah, this guy's trying to do up sexy eyes on Instagram, on IG. I screenshotted this from like a week ago.
He's talking about feet as well. That's interesting.
He put his caption as testing the angles, and this guy was smizzing like you wouldn't believe. You'd think this was Chris Brown on set, bro. Like, it was crazy what this guy was doing. So, Sai, your days are numbered. I'm coming for you. Yeah? Pause.
What the Ross?
Hell of a sign.
I've got the evidence. The evidence is here as we speak. Yeah.
Oh my god,
that's nuts.
He's in the chat as well, so we'll, I'm sure he's giggling away. I look forward to the voice notes back and forth in the group chat now. Thank you for that. Well, all right. Well, thank you for everyone who's been watching the stream. That was a hell of a sign off. He's yeah, Simon's definitely in the chat now. For those definitely in the chat, especially Simon, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting along. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at New Spurs Order. Still, be sure to follow us on TikTok. The content's still rolling out. Be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. We've got plans for a reasonably priced Patreon coming now. We're even going to put the ad-free version of this podcast on the Patreon as well. So yeah, feel free to check that out before we really get the ball rolling. And yeah, as for now, we've been Newsboys Order and Peace.
Safe.
Peace.